The changes to the college football playoff may be coming as early as next year, according to Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports. It is not a shock, but he is reporting that leaders in college football are already calling the playoff system broken, which
Well,
I
my.
find hilarious, as it is the first year of it that you decided.
And we haven't played a game yet.
It's broken. They want to change three things, or actually, they're talking about three different bullet points, and they are talking about as early as next season. Now, any changes that are implemented next season, 2025, would need a unanimous vote of the 10 conferences in Notre Dame, and that's never going to happen. They're never going to agree on everything because it benefits some conferences and not others. They're never going to. There's no way. The Big 12 and ACC is not going to concede to the SEC and Big 10.
No, but if the changes aren't necessarily gatekeeping against them, if the changes are more about either how seeding happens or things like that, that may not affect anybody. And
but I have a hard time thinking.
I agree. It's hard to get all 10 plus Notre Dame on board.
Yeah, I just have a hard time thinking they're going to get a unanimous vote on anything before next year. But then in 2026, the deal is up, and that's when the Big Ten and the SEC hold all the power and will likely get everything they want because the college football playoff crumbles without them. So buckle up for that. But it sounds like this year and next year are going to be roughly the same. But here are the three things they're talking about. One is, should the field expand to 14, which I think is dumb because they should just make it 16 so that there are no byes, clean 8-team bracket on each side.
I kind of like the byes.
You like the byes?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it rewards something that you've done in the regular season.
Well, what if you got rewarded by just playing the 16 seed?
Well, we've seen this is what Oregon fan is complaining about right now. They got the 1 seed, and people think they got the crappiest path.
Well, why don't you go tell them to shut up?
Well, just telling you.
Stop bitching like the coaches.
I don't have a problem with it because they have a bye.
Well, but I mean, if you have 16 teams, you can seed it way easier than what they're doing now. But they're saying they want to talk about expanding to 14. Okay. That's
that might not even be true though, because you could have an SEC team like an Alabama or an A&M who's a 16, and is that a good draw for a 1?
Yeah,
probably
not.
Just because I think it's not. 16 seeds are not created in college football the way they would be in college basketball.
No, that's fair. Because
you're still a top 15 team in the country.
I think what they're doing with the 14 is they're just trying to get more Big Ten and SEC teams in there.
Sure.
The other two things they're going to discuss immediately is, should the 4 highest ranked conference champions get byes if they're outside the top 4 in the rankings? In other words, just use your rankings to seed. So put out the rankings, the top 4 get the byes, period. It doesn't have to be a conference champion. And then the last thing is, should the SEC and the Big Ten each get 3 or more automatic bids, while the Big 12 and the ACC get 2 each? And they're talking about, you know what else they mentioned? This is really wild. They're talking about play-in games in the SEC and the Big Ten. Like down the stretch, funneling
games. Is that more to avoid the crazy tiebreaker scenarios that didn't actually come to roost?
Yeah, possibly.
Because I remember like the Big 12 was like, there was a chance there was going to be an 8-way tie, and they'd have to go down to like the 16th tiebreaker, and nobody wants it decided like that. So.
Well, everybody says that, but I think you kind of do want it decided by predetermined tiebreakers, don't you? Because that's how the NFL does it.
Well, to get in, yeah, but I don't think you want, if you have 5 teams with the same record and only 2 get to play for the championship game or for the championship, then like I at least get where a play-in that helps funnel the best teams into that makes sense.
What I do is I'd expand to 16. You have no byes. You take 3 automatic bids from the SEC and the Big 10, 2 from the ACC, 2 from the Big 12. You will take the highest ranked group of 5, then 5 wildcard teams. One of those would be Notre Dame. And those wildcard teams would just be the highest in the rankings.
I don't have a problem with that.
This year, what that would mean is Iowa State would probably be in as the second Big 12. Now, you could argue that BYU could get in over Iowa State, but Iowa State played in the championship game.
Then we're right back to the are you punishing teams who play in their conference championship argument.
But BYU lost to a 5-win Kansas team at home. So don't do that if you don't want to be in this discussion.
Agreed.
So the teams, just for comparison, the teams that would leave out if you did that would be BYU, Missouri, Illinois, Colorado, Syracuse, and Army. And the only team that would have an argument there is BYU, who could lobby for the auto bid from the Big 12. But like I said, they lost to 5-win Kansas at home. What leg do you have to stand on? The only thing left then would be how to balance the schedules to get a conference champion without conference title games. I think that's the harder thing, because the conference title games are antiquated. They kind of need to go away. But how do you get a conference champion when you have like 25 effing teams in a league?
Right. Yeah.
How do you do that?
And we've had all this issue already deciding who's good and who's not because of who plays who and who doesn't.
Yeah. So then you move up. What you do is you move up the start of the playoff to this past weekend, and you play every week until it wraps around New Year's. That doesn't seem that hard.
The only place I'll push back here, teams 13 through 16 ain't winning the title. They're not. They're just not.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm not saying.
So you don't want them in there?
I just think it's. I mean, is Iowa State as the second Big 12 team going to make some noise?
Well,
like
I get that, but I think you do want, what you want is enough teams in there so that the debate really isn't a debate. Like this year, it's a real big debate.
I thought it was perfect though, because it's like, if you're Alabama, don't lose 3 games to 6 and 6.
Okay,
like,
well, but hold on. You can say that about any.
But no, I also think that
amount.
Clemson as a 12 seed is still competitive,
Listen,
more so than the 16 would be.
Here is the difference between 12 and 16. Just looking at this year's example, there are teams that are not in this field that are better. It's not even subjective. They are better than teams that are in the field. Now, I'm not saying that that's not right.
Right, but
they didn't qualify.
And that's where I'm like, you just got to earn it then.
But the 16, you're not going to get teams, ranked 13, 14, 15, 16 that are better than, you're not going to get teams that are ranked 17, 18, 19, 20 that are objectively better than teams in the field. It's just not going to happen. Maybe one. Maybe you could say Missouri's better than, I don't know. Who's in the field? Indiana? Probably not, but
no.
You could.
But
you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're trying to say.
It just waters down that debate to the point where it's not really that much of a debate. This year, though, with only 12, boy, there were some pretty damn good teams left out of that thing.
Text line points out that if they go to 14, you're still getting 2 buys, and maybe that is the sweet spot. Because
possibly,
I
don't know. To me, 16 makes the most sense, but whatever.
It's the cleanest for sure. I just don't know that we need all those teams in there.
Well, the other thing is that the only subjectivity, because people bitch about all the subjectivity. Well, it's going to be subjective unless you play balanced schedules. Okay, So the subjectivity is how they're ranked, and if you really wanted, you could bake in a set of tiebreakers like the NFL does. In other words, rank them by transparent metrics, much like the league, which is record first, but then, of course, it's college and schedules are imbalanced, so you could add a strength of schedule component, but let everybody see that and put it into a formula that says, here's the tiebreaker. And so then when they're tied, it's not decided by a committee. It's decided by a predetermined set of tiebreakers.
I'm totally good with that. That's fine.
I mean, I just don't think any of these things are really all that hard. It's just you've got all these different entities pulling in different directions with different interests.
Sure.
That's the problem. It's not one league saying, here's how we're going to do it, and this is going to be great for everyone.
Well, and here's the other thing we've also seen this season, and we see in the NFL all the time. It's a sport of attrition, and so I think the buys really help the teams that are trying to make it to the end. And frankly, if we get to 16, I don't think we can go any further because we can't add any more games than that for the college kids. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. But again, I think that if you eliminate the championship games, which I think is the hardest part of how you get conference champions without championship games, that right there is an extra week that you get to add that.
Yeah.
And everybody plays instead of just a couple by. I don't know. That's just, it's just one guy's thought, but they're already talking about, we're just spitballing. They're already talking about changing it, man. Changing it next year. I just would like it if they just radically changed everything to make it like, we really all think this is great, and then just stick with it. And tweak as you go.
I think they thought they were doing that.
Well, they did a terrible job of it.
Well, here we are.